Hello everyone, Zenero Gaming coming at y'all with another video, and we are doing more Fullmetal Alchemist deck profiles. So I made two of them last week, and I did get to build those two particular decks. I'm missing a couple of super rares, but we are on to the next one, and this is one of my favorite decks of the entire set, and it is Olivier Armstrong. I love her in the show. She's really cool, even though she does bully her brother a little bit. She is a really awesome character, and the main card and star of the deck is going to be, of course, her. She does have the big Briggs trait. The only thing I don't like about this deck is that for some reason they didn't give more people Briggs traits. So maybe when Fullmetal Alchemist gets its inevitable like Volume 2 set, then the Briggs cards will get a little more support because they are the afterthought part of Blue. Blue is definitely mainly revolved around Roy Mustang, and I'll do that deck profile too, but I think that is the most popular and going to be the most built, strongest deck from Fullmetal Alchemist, so it wasn't on like the main one I wanted to do a deck profile for. But let's get over what Olivia wants to do. 6 energy, 1 action point, so you know we're going to run a lot of double energy generators in the deck. She does raid on top of Olivier. She's 4,000 BP, 1 energy generation. You would think that she would be at least 45 or something, you know, being a 6 drop and only being at 4,000 BP. I do wish they would have even just given her that extra 500 because it's like you're playing a semi-ramp deck, and the payoff for her only being 4 doesn't seem too strong. But you can get in a lot of swings with this deck with her effect, right? So let's read what she says. When played, switch all Briggs Affinity cards on your field to active. So what you're going to want to do is play down your 2 action point cards, bring down your other Olivier, and then raid onto that one with this one, and then she will then switch all your Briggs Affinity cards on the field to active. And it says, when attacking, you may place 1 card from your hand to your sideline. If you do, choose it to 1 character on your field with 2 or more base AP costs and switch it to active. So what you want to do here is you're going to play out your cards, bring her out, stand everybody up, and then swing with everyone else, and then swing with her, and then trash 1 card in your hand to then stand back up one of your characters on the field with 2 or more base AP costs, which is going to be who we talk about next. So big card here, definitely some big swingy plays, but I do wish she would have been 4,500. And you would think that she would be 4,500, right? She's one of the strongest characters in the entire show, and to see her only having 4,000 BP, I think is a big miss for this deck. Because you are trying to get to the 6 energy, right? And you would, with 6 energy at 1 action point cards, unless they have impact or something crazy like that, you do expect them to be more BP, and it is a little unfortunate that Olivia is not at least 4,500, but still a really cool card in the main card of the deck, so you're running that at a 4 of. Before we get into the characters, I do want to touch up on the events and sites. So we are running 4 of the final triggers. It's only 3 energy, 1 action point final trigger here. It does not have her on it. I don't think there's an art for her to have it on it. It's just going to be Ed and Roy on there, the 2 main dudes for sure. But you got to run those cards. And then 4 of our kill spell. Now, I am choosing to run this one because I'm not running any Roy Mustang package in this deck. I wanted it just to be Briggs-based decks. I do like my decks to be themed. And we do have both the characters here that are going to be your Briggs cards. It is a special trigger in life. It does only cost you 1 energy, 1 action point, which is nice. It says, choose 1 character in your opponent's front line with 5,000 less BP and switch it to resting. It will remain set to resting. Next time it will be switched to active. If Olivia Armstrong is on your field, you may sideline it instead. So you either keep it active and switch it to resting and it stays that way. But if you have Olivier on the field, then you get to sideline it. This comes up because this makes your opponent have to move up. Say you don't even have Olivier, so you don't get to sideline it. You don't mind playing this card because your opponent's going to have to move up something from the energy line to replace that card if they want to get value, and then that card will go to removal because they did have to replace it themselves. So not the best, kill spell in the game, but we do run as many Oliviers that we can run in the deck. You'll see we run 4 copies of all of her. But the main reason I want to talk about this is that the site card in this deck is super important, because this is one of the main ways that you pop off in this deck and get value. So with that being said, we are running 2 of this site. It's 3 energy, 2 action points. It is a get trigger in life, and it generates you 2 energy, so you're always going to have it on the back line. You're hopefully going to be able to find this if, once I get to do some more testing and then be able to do the, rate the decks with the stars, how I do in all the sets. I only do that once I get testing done, which I haven't done yet with these decks all the way. So once that happens, I'll make that video. But you may need to bump this up to a 3-0 because this card is super important in the deck. But I think that since it is a get trigger, you will find the card, and we have ways to draw and trash and get engine in. But this site says, When played, reduce the AP cost of the next Briggs affinity card you use from your hand this turn by 1. So this helps you. You play this for 2, and then you get to play a Briggs character for either free or for 1. Certain ones will cost you 2, so then that'll just be for 1, or you could play something for free. So you're getting to play down this site, generate the 2 energy, but this site does not come in active, which is also another downside of this deck. I don't know why they try to nerf this deck so much. I know they wanted, the Mustang deck to probably be the most hype, but this site not coming in active is a little annoying because now you can't do the rest of the effect, which says activate main, switch to resting. You can only activate this ability if a card with 2 or more base AP costs has been played onto your field this turn. Draw a card. You can only activate this Fort Briggs ability 1 time each turn. So you're replacing your hand. You just switch this to resting. You play your 2 action point cost cards from your hand, and then they replace themselves by drawing your card in your hand, which then will let you be able to raid into your Olivier, and then using her effect to trash a card to stand them all up to active. In this deck, you're gonna want to, build up your hand, build up your play with all these double action point cards, this Briggs card in your hand, and then also your final triggers are how you're going to try to surprise your opponent with these 4 to 6 swing turns in one play with a lot of 4K bodies. So you're really holding on to your cards and trying to get to a point where you can have these big plays, and this is definitely one of the most essential cards in the deck. I think that if they had made this come in active, that would have changed the speed of this deck big time, and maybe they didn't want another full combo deck, and they kind of wanted it to be a little bit different play style. But I do want to touch on the, all the Oliviers, and then we'll go down and touch up on the other card, right? So we are going to run 4 of the 3 energy, 1 action point, 2500 BP Olivier. She is your double energy generator, so you're always going to want to play her on the back line. And she says, when played, if a card with 2 or more base AP costs has been played onto your field this turn, choose up to 1 of your AP cards and switch it to active. You can only activate this effect once per turn. So this is how you're getting your value. You're going to play those double action point cards, and then play her to get back an action point, which is really good combos with either, multiple of your characters or your site that is on the board, which is really, really good, being able to let you have these plays that your opponent may not be able to see coming. And she is a color trigger in life, which is really, really good. Blue has such a strong color trigger, being able to bounce a 35 or less BP to the hand, so how your opponent swings will matter. But I have to run for this one because it is a double energy. But once again, I think they nerfed her stats, because you can see here that she's 2500 BP. Miles is 2500, Alex is 3, and it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because she is a very powerful character in the show, and I don't know, they usually do a good job in the card game of explaining like the BPs and the characters, and they're all relative to usually how strong they are in the show. And this is one of the few decks that I think that the devs got a little wrong on how they spread out the BP and the stats in these decks, because Olivier is just so much stronger than every other character in this deck in the actual show, and they made her BPs smaller than the rest of them. But going down the line, we are lucky enough that they did give us multiple copies of Olivier. So we have 4 of the 3-drop, 4 of our 6-drop raid, and then we have 4 of this 1 energy, 1 action point Olivier Armstrong. 2000 BP, 1 energy generator. This is going to be the one that you're going to play on the front line early in the game, because it is a 2K 1-drop, which is really, really good. And she says, when played, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 Briggs affinity card among them, and add it to your hand. Place remaining cards at bottom of your deck in any order. If you add a card to your hand, place 1 card from your hand and to the sideline. So you can see here, we got a lot of different targets that we can get here. All of your Oliviers are Briggs, and then we have Miles, and then Buccaneer, and then obviously we have Fort Briggs as our other one, right? So, just a good searcher for the day. A little annoying that she was not a trigger, a draw trigger, a get trigger, or anything. Like I said, I don't know why they nerfed this deck so hard, because that leaves us at, I always say that you need to be at like 40 to 42 triggers in your decks to keep them very, very consistent. And with this card that we have to run a 4 of, not having even an active trigger, just something, anything to help out would have been nice, and that would have put this deck in a good spot. But granted, we have other cards that are searched like this that are 3000 in other decks. The Sword Art Online has one. All these other decks have one. And if they don't have that, then they at least have a trigger if they're 2000 or less, and she does not, which is a little unfortunate. And then we are running 4 of these 0-drop, 0 energy, 1 action point, 1500 BP, 1 energy generator, and it is a get trigger in your life. So at least if you hit this one, you'll know you'll get it to your hand. Olivier here. Now, going online, I do want to touch on all the Briggs cards. And the main card outside of Olivier, the 6-drop raid, that you're going to want to run is this Buccaneer. And it says if you have 3 or more Briggs Affinity cards on your field, reduce this card's AP cost by 1 while in your hand. So you can reduce him by 1, but he still is technically a 2 action point card, so you'll still be able to get your effects to get value when you play him. Fort Briggs will see this as a 2 or more base AP card that you played this turn, so you'll get to draw even though you only paid 1 for it. And the same thing with the other cards that, like this Olivier as well, being able to let you do that. So even though you get to reduce him, it still counts as a 2 action point card for those particular effects. But 4 energy, 2 action point, 4,000 plus BP, so we're getting a boost, 1 energy generator, and another thing they did here. This card is an active trigger, which should have been a get because it is such an important card. I know that I'm trying to do a deck profile with this, but I do want y'all to see, when the devs are making these decisions, why did they make this an active trigger when it definitely could have been a get trigger? We've seen the way that they've been doing designs in the game, and we know what are good effects and what are not. And for such an important card in the deck to not be a get trigger makes it really hard for you to be able to hopefully find this card. And I'm not sure why they did that. But he does say, activate main once per turn. This character gains 1,000 BP. Impact 1 until the end of the turn. And at the end of your opponent's tag phase, sideline this character, then draw a card until the start of your next turn. So you get to bring him out. You're going to be able to stand him up with your Olivier, then use his effect to give him 1,000 BP and impact 1 for the turn. And then also you have to give them this. You can't choose this one. If you choose to activate this effect to make him 5,000 impact 1, you then also at the end of your opponent's attack phase have to sideline this character and draw a card. So if they don't get rid of it and they just choose not to swing in and give you that turn, you do have to get rid of your Buccaneer. I think that you only really try to do this effect on him if you really need to push for that damage, and the ways that you play with this card is going to be what shows your skill with the deck. This is a very versatile effect. You don't have to do this, but if you do it, you're getting a 5,000 BP, impact 1, which is really, really good in this game. So good. And at the end of opponent's attack phase, sideline this character. It's just really, really good. But he will be a 5,000 BP during your opponent's turn. So we've seen them with characters that boost themselves through your opponent's turn, usually have some kind of downfall. So the Buccaneer is one that has that. Now, I'm not running any recursion too much in this deck because I think that we just need to go, hoping all gas, no brakes, not trying to see anything, just try to see our full combo once or twice and hope that that is enough to give us, the advantage in the game. But going on through our Briggs characters, they only gave us another one here, and it's Miles, who is also not a trigger in the deck, believe it or not. 2 energy, 1 action point, Miles Briggs, 1 energy generator. And it says if you have 3 or more other Briggs affinity cards in your field, this character gains extra energy generation. So he counts as a double energy generator, but he also does not have a trigger, which is a little annoying. And I know that we want to max out on the Briggs. So if you really, really wanted to, you could go down on this Louis Armstrong to add up the Briggs, but you only need to have 3 or more other cards, which can be, any of your Oliviers. They all count as Briggs. We also have the Fort Briggs and then our Buccaneer, who also gives us the value of the Briggs names. But if he was a trigger, it'd be easy to max him out at 4, right? You'd want to do it, but he doesn't have a trigger. Neither does the Olivier 1-drop. And I think that this really stifles this deck, because even if both these cards just had that would put us up in the 40s, high 40s for triggers in the deck. Our other Briggs character is going to be Vato Fallman. Now, this is one of the other, probably the third. I say Olivier, the color trigger, Buccaneer, and then this card are going to be the 3 cards you want to have in your starting hand, because this Vato is so good being able to get you through your deck. It is a Briggs trigger. It is when play, draw a card, then place one card from your hand to your sideline. We've seen how good these cards are. It's also a draw trigger in life, which is so good for adding consistency into the deck. This guy is a superstar in the deck. You're going to want to see him. This is your consistency engine. So, since we didn't have enough other Briggs characters to add into it, we did add in Alex to be our kind of how we put a lot of pressure on our opponent with just really, really good effects. Now, the most important one is going to be this 5 energy, 2 action point, Alex Louis Armstrong. Now, this one's really important because it does cost the 2 action points, which helps you trigger all your other cards that say if you used one with 2 action points, get this back. I know that this is probably a card that a lot of people are thinking maybe this should be maxed out at a 4, but he does cost you 5 energy. He does not have Briggs in the name, so you really only want to see one copy of this card because it is going to try to get answered by your opponent. It is so strong, and it definitely is one of your win conditions, but you only are really going to have time in a game to play one of these and try to get his value, right? You can stand him up, which helps out a lot too, but he is 5 energy, 2 action points, active trigger in life, 4500 BP, 1 energy generator, and he has damage 2 just always, right? Which is really, really strong. We've seen a lot of cards that have this be a problem in the game. A lot of times you're going to want to play him on the back line. Don't throw him out there for your opponents to be able to answer before you're able to get that damage 2 off. Play him on the back line. Let him be able to get a turn if you don't have the Olivier combo to standing back up. And he also says, once per turn when this character attacks and wins a battle, draw 2 cards. So you're punishing your opponent for not blocking him, and then if they do block him, you're punishing them by him being able to get back cards into your hand, and it's just draw 2, not even draw 2 trash one. That's 2 card advantage. This is a super, super important card in the deck, but him being 5 energy, 2 action points is the issue. If he had just been 4 and taken his BP down to 4,000, I would have rather had that then the 5,000 for the 4,500, and then them just give the extra 500 to Olivier. But I'm just being picky. I love these characters. Obviously, Olivier is one of my favorite characters in the show, so I wish they had just done better by the deck. But this card is super strong, and I think you do need to run it at a 2 of. I do think that this other Louis Armstrong is really good. If you would prefer to go down on this one to 0 and the other one to 4, I could understand that one. But this one is a 4 energy, 1 action point, 4,000 BP, 1 energy generator, and this one is damage 2. Just generically, it has no trigger in life, so we could bump our triggers up, but there are a lot of instances where if you're behind in the game, you can't afford to always use that 2 action points if you don't have your combos to get an action point back. You play this Louis on the back line, your opponent knows that next turn they have to deal with a damage 2. They're going to have to block it or take the 2 damage. I think that this Louis Armstrong is really good in the deck. Going down through it, we run a lot of Alex Armstrong because obviously it's her little sister, her little big brother, and he is so strong. And this one's really good too. Like the Armstrong package is really important in the deck, and however you decide you need to run them at your locals and whatever your meta decides to be, I'm running just a 2-2 split of all of these. This is the Nullify Impact, 4 energy, 1 action point, 4,000 BP, 1 energy generator, and it is an active trigger in life. And Nullify Impact is so important in today's metagame with so many decks having access to Impact. Now, we are running 3 of the 2 energy, 1 action point, Louis Armstrong. It's an active trigger in life, which is nice that we have so many active triggers in the deck. 3,000 BP for a 2-1 is really good, so you're going to play him on the front line, and this is going to be one of those cards that helps set you up big time. He says, when played, draw a card, then place 1 card from your hand and to the sideline. So you see we have a lot of draw engine with the Alex and the Vato being able to cycle through our deck. And then just 2 of the 0 energy, 1 action point, Louis Armstrong. Now, this card is really strong. They gave the stats throughout to Alex, and I understand why they did that, but I would have rather had him on the Olivier's, because this is a 2,000 BP 0-1. If you see like 2 of these in your starting hand, which we only run 2, so it's not going to happen a lot here, you can just throw both of these down the board, and your opponent is going to be in a big trouble trying to answer 2 2K bodies on turn 2. A lot of players won't be able to do that. And then the only last card that we're running is going to be Maria Ross. Now, if you want to take this out of the deck and, bump up some of the other cards, I think that you definitely could. Maybe, bring this Alex up to a 4 and the Miles up to a 4. But I think having another 1-drop outside of the Olivier is really important. And these are just the, 1 action point, bounce of 1 or less to your hand if you can't. Return this to your hand, double energy generators. I think that these are good paces in the games for the decks. If you get to go second with these in your hands, I think the value of these cards is just immeasurable, because then you can then drop out cards on your front line and not have to worry about your energy. I like these cards in almost every single one of my decks. Now, I have said a lot of good things and a lot of bad things about this deck, but I am still really, really excited to play it. It's definitely a combo deck, and you have to have pieces for it. So with decks like this, it takes a lot of deck testing and deck building and getting a lot of games in to find all the lines that you're going to want to do. So once I get, a lot more games in on this deck. I'll be able to give you guys a full breakdown of all the decks in the set and just exactly what they do. Now, I do think that this deck is a little slept on because I think it is a really solid deck. I just think that the devs put the stats in certain cards a little wonky, and the amount of triggers and just little things like that are things that can add up to kind of hurt a deck and how high it is in like the competitive standing. But this is still a really strong, really cool deck. I look up really forward, to playing this one. I love Olivier and Alex, and I can't wait to get some more games in them. But let me know what you guys think about this deck. What is your favorite deck coming out in Fullmetal Alchemist? Leave it in the comments below. Please don't forget to leave this video a like and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate y'all hanging in me today. Peace.